We're going for our next presentation, and let me introduce to you Dr. Tiffany Roman, who's presenting student engagement during COVID-19, attending to the affective dimension of learner needs from the Bagwell College of Education.
Hi, I'm Dr. Tiffany Roman. I'm in the School of Instructional Technology and Innovation. That's right, we're not just a department, we're a school. And you can see my colleagues up here. You may wonder what we do, and we teach teachers how to integrate technology into their instructional practices to support student learning to make it more efficient, effective, engaging, and equitable. Now, when COVID-19 emerged on the scene, we really wanted to spring into action. So I'm here tonight to tell you how we do that. So as I'm going to be speaking, I really want you to pay attention to the images because all of the children that you see are actually children of educators. And the majority of these children are faculty in the Bagwell College of Education. And this is important because COVID-19 teaching and learning needs no stock images. What you see here is and was our reality. So to tackle the problem of the schools when they shut down, my colleagues, Dr. Belinda Edwards and Mike Diaz, who are faculty in science and mathematics education, they went ahead and they actually invited me and my other colleague, Lori Diaz, to assist them, and they're featured in the center right here, to assist them with a cohort that they've been working with for several years, actually about 3 years, some induction teachers that are focused on middle and high school mathematics, science, and computer science teaching. So what we did is through a grant through the Institute for Citizens in Science, we supported 11 teachers. There were 6 science teachers, 4 mathematics, and 1 computer and engineering teacher from 5 districts and counties in Georgia. And we created professional development workshops to support them because they're still new to teaching, so they really did need more additional support, and they're featured right up here. And instead of telling them what they should do or learn, we asked them, what did you need? And they told us, the biggest thing that they encountered was that students were not engaged, and particularly the instructional strategies that they had learned and were using in their classrooms weren't translating well in online settings, particularly collaborative group work in their online settings. So this shows just quickly that is where we turned our attention to, student engagement and actually trauma-informed teaching practices, which I support Dr. Glover over there. We're of like minds. So what we did is we decided to go ahead and provide them and address the issues that they were encountering, whether it was a student wearing a VR headset in their classes, whether it was teaching to the abyss of Zoom black boxes. We wanted to make sure that they had the ability to use technology to support student learning in the best ways that we knew how. So what we did is we introduced them to student frameworks related to research frameworks related to student engagement, particularly a systems perspective. I come from a systems background. And in a systems perspective, the student is at the center, and around the student, in the framework that I'm about to show you here, you'll notice that they're very connected to teachers, families, and peers. And as you go out, but there's other conditional factors, right? There's socioeconomic status, there's political and social environments. All of these matter. So that's why education is very tricky. It's a complex thing to crack. An additional framework we introduced was dimensions of student engagement. There's 4 key ones. That's the one thing I want you to take away from this night tonight, is that when you think of student engagement, think of it from 4 dimensions: cognitive, affective, social, and behavioral. And there's some indicators listed below. And what we noticed was that teachers, when they were thinking about how to address student engagement, they were so used to attending to cognitive engagement factors, right? That's what they're trained to do. It's where we put our priority. However, COVID threw that on its head. What we had is that none of the pillars were being stable, right? So the affective was, students were stressed. We had other issues that were emerging. I would like to say that what we did is we had students share best practices, our teacher participants. So this is an example of a teacher who kind of made it very clear and succinct for what students to do. We showed them how to do breakout rooms. We showed them how to do annotated writing online. And of course, we told them to also think about working offline. But I think what's so important and that I want you to kind of take with us is, as researchers, we're collecting data along the way, because that's what we do. And we were interested to see if their instructional practices shifted when COVID emerged. And this is what they found. So prior to COVID, they were really attentive to cognitive and behavioral indicators. And when COVID hit, they shifted to actually continuing behavioral indicators, but they kind of left the cognitive side to the side. And then after our PD, they wanted to address affective, which you can see up here, kind of affective behaviors. So why did this happen? Why did these shifts happen? And we realized is that teachers already had a rapport, right? They already had established the relationships when COVID hit. So at that point, they needed strategies to address how do they translate what they were doing face-to-face in their online learning context. And that was something where we supported them in that regard. And so really what I want to do to tell you today is that through the skills that they learned, they developed connection and belonging as their importance when they return to the classroom. And we know that they're gonna have new students that they don't know. And so we provided ways, this is the Flipgrid, I don't know how many are familiar with it, but it allows asynchronous video annotation where students can leave responses to form that social connection, to build that classroom community, which is so important for students right now. To conclude, my colleagues and I argue that really we should be particularly attentive to the affective dimension of student engagement due to the traumatic nature of the pandemic. And I also encourage you to thank any teacher that you know, ask them what they need, and they will be sure to tell you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Tiffany. That was great.